Roadhog should be a damage hero and we are tired of pretending he shouldn't be. Actually, to be honest, we've shouted from the rooftops of Junkertown that everyone's favourite rotund Kiwi assassin should be considered for a switch to the DPS role for quite a while. And Overwatch 2 is the perfect time for Roadhog to sling his hook and leave the tank queue in favour of a much more lucrative position among the damage heroes. Is such a massive rework a month before release likely? No, but that doesn't mean we can't dream, damn it. And Overwatch 2's switch to a live service game means we're probably going to see far more frequent updates, buffs, nerfs, and more hitting the game once October comes around. Roadhog though has largely gone under the radar for most of Overwatch 2's beta, and for good reason. The second beta did bring some much needed fire to his kit, increasing Take a Breather's healing to 350, and most importantly completely reworking his ultimate. Whole Hog, at least as it was when the beta took a breather, now has to be fired manually but can't be stun cancelled, and allows Hog to use other abilities while he plows through enemy squads. The hope was that the combo of more versatility in his ult, and being able to snag enemies straight into a Whole Hog slug to the face, along with a slight buff to his healing power, would help him be more relevant in 5v5 Overwatch. But he's still comfortably the worst tank in the game. So what makes Roadhog so bad in 5v5 and why would he fit in better among the DPS crowd? Let's start with the obvious. Roadhog just isn't really equipped to be a good tank in 5v5 Overwatch. Sure, the chain hook to scrap gun, shot and chaser combo is just as effective as ever at one-tapping supports and DPS heroes alike. But the fact of the matter is that up against a team with even the slightest amount of communication and coordination, Hog becomes a sitting duck. Roadhog lacks any form of damage mitigation that his team can use. Yeah, he can heal himself, but that's next to useless when your DPS has been annihilated and your support has just been one-tapped on the point. Now that Hog takes up that only tank slot, it's so much harder for him to provide that vital protection to his teammates. Which sadly means that the rest of the tank roster simply does his job way better than he can. I mean, honestly, Roadhog's kit has never really played like a traditional tank. Most Hog players, especially at lower ranks, will simply play him like a third DPS anyway, which is tantamount to surrender in 5v5. You'll see Roadhogs running into fights they can't win to bag kills, wasting their hook on bad picks instead of pulling enemy tanks out of positions or eliminating immediate threats, or just running away from fights when the tide turns even a little against them. That is not the optimal way to play a tank in Overwatch, 1 or 2. The fact is, Roadhog makes space differently to pretty much every other tank. Ryan uses his shield to occupy a huge area, fend off attacks, and close the distance. Junker Queen, well, does everything, whereas Roadhog is supposed to make space simply by providing a threat. Placing Hog in the right place at the right time will keep most supports and even DPS heroes away because they don't want to take a scrap gun shell to the dome. In theory, forcing the enemy team to play more conservatively to stay alive and providing allies with the chance to get aggressive. It's not a bad thing per se, but because he plays so different to traditional tanks and needs to be more intelligent and better positioned than almost every other player on the battlefield to get any kind of value from him, most players have struggled and still struggle to this day to make him work, which means he ends up being played as a beefy DPS hero rather than a tank, and that won't fly in Overwatch 2. So, short of giving Roadhog a complete rework that lets him play a little more defensively, and let's face it, no one wants to give Hog a shield, a switch to the DPS role to play to his strengths would make more sense, right? Most of the building blocks are already in place to make Roadhog a damn good damage hero, although obviously there'd have to be some big changes made for the big guy to make the jump. Taking away the bulk of his HP to a much less sturdy 250 will make him a lot easier to kill, and obviously his self-heal would have to be immediately removed. Devs would also have to take a look at his hitbox, since currently it's way too huge to be healthy in the DPS queue. But if Doomfist can get a subtle bulk up to make him more aligned with tank heroes, then we're sure Roadhog can lose a few pounds to make the way in as a damage hero. And outside of that, Roadhog wouldn't actually need many changes to stack up against the best the damage roster has to offer. He already has the ability to hone in on weaker enemy heroes and decimate them with the old-fashioned hook scrap gun combo, and his hook could be a vital tool for clearing weakened tanks off a point and pulling them into a 1v1, or separate them from their squad to set up aggressive pushes for their teammates. Although maybe the range could be knocked down a little bit just to balance him out. His mobility could prove to be a problem with getting the most out of flanks or pushes onto objectives, but that's where his take a breather ability could be repurposed. Instead of pumping him with health juice, he gets a shot of adrenaline that helps him get around faster for a short time. Slightly boost the dump truck damage his ult can deal out, and you'd have a ready-made DPS hero ready to go in no time. And ultimately, the result would be the high-risk, high-reward strategies that Roadhog likes to dole out would be far more likely to succeed. and would free up this wannabe DPS tank to really make an impact on the meta again. And while it would make him easier to use and more effective in general, it wouldn't remove that skill ceiling that keeps him balanced. Hard to use heroes are fine, but right now Roadhog rewards perfect positioning and game sense and brutally punishes anything less. A move to DPS would fix that. So, should Overwatch 2 do a reverse Doomfist? Should Roadhog be allowed to join the ranks of the DPS roster, where, spiritually at least, he seems to belong? Well, obviously we think so, but we're not adverse to a bit of discussion here at GGRecon, so let us know what you reckon down in the comments. If you've made it this far, drop this video a like, don't forget to subscribe for more Overwatch content like this, and I'll see you in Junkertown.